And let me just make this clear right at the very top. If you're a rioter, if you're a looter, you're human scum. You're doing nothing positive for society. What you're acting on is not quote unquote justified anger. You're a piece of crap. You're a piece of crap. And you should be arrested. You should be prosecuted. Business owners should defend their businesses. This is sheer unbelievable garbage. And the failure of government to perform its single function, which is to protect the law abiding, that failure of government is catastrophic. I'm talking from local governments to state governments to the federal government. The lack of ability of the government to do the one thing it is supposed to do, right? This government that's supposed to provide you everything that you could possibly need, provide you privileges from the top. Instead, it can't even protect you in your own cities. This government. Okay, so the government is designed to protect life and liberty. In the case of George Floyd, they did neither. And then they allowed rioters to run roughshod throughout the country. We had most every major American city last night under curfew. LA County, which is 10 million people, went into curfew yesterday at 6 o'clock p.m. Santa Monica went into curfew at 4 o'clock p.m. This is not a free country. So I have some good news. Here's the good news. Apparently, COVID-19 is over. Apparently, it's over. Because what I saw over the weekend and Saturday night and Sunday, what I saw was tens of thousands of people in the streets and nobody giving a good gosh darn. Because bottom line is they were doing something that the media agreed with. And so there are three things that we need to talk about today. One is the legitimate cause of fighting police brutality. The second is the illegitimate argument that America is endemically racist, systematically racist, racist at every level, and that America must apologize for its very being, that America must be remade from bottom to top and top to bottom. And then there is the third argument that some are making, which is that people who riot and loot are somehow an outgrowth of justified anger, that somehow going and smashing a store window makes you some sort of hero in this society. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. If you are a rioter, if you're a looter, you ought to be captured, you ought to be arrested, you ought to be prosecuted. This is not the behavior of a civilized country. It is not. And don't tell me that the behavior of the police officer in George Floyd's situation was uncivilized. I agree. We all agree. We're all on the same page. That guy's in jail. He's going to remain in jail. He should be in jail. The only question is on what charge? What does the evidence support? No one disagrees on this. And if you say people weren't acting in civilized fashion with Ahmaud Arbery, I agree. Those guys are in jail. They belong in jail. Everyone agrees on this. But using this as an excuse to destroy the Lincoln Memorial, to go and tag the World War II Memorial, to beat business owners outside their business, and to do it on the basis of race. Have you seen some of the signs that have been put up in these cities? People attempting to put up Black Lives Matter signs in their windows to dissuade rioters from breaking their windows. I don't think most of this is Black Lives Matter, by the way. I think Black Lives Matter is a cause with which some of its points I disagree. I think that they make an overwrought case as to the nature of America itself, which is the second argument we're going to talk about today. But the people who are mostly smashing windows are folks from Antifa and people who are vile hangers-on who are attempting to grab a TV. Okay, you're not honoring George Floyd's memory or doing anything good for America or fighting police brutality by stealing a TV. You're just a piece of shit. Okay, if you are stealing a TV, you are a bad on the back of the killing of an innocent black man. You're a bad person, red, white, or green. This is insane. And for all the people in the media who are saying, well, you can't pay attention to this, you're paying attention to this, you're not paying attention to all the other bad stuff that's happening in the country. I can walk and chew gum at the same time. Not only that, we spent an entire episode on Ahmaud Arbery. We spent entire episodes talking about George Floyd. Everyone, again, agrees on this stuff. The attempt to polarize America around the question of whether rioting and looting is a justified uprising. I'm seeing language of uprising. That's not an uprising. That's not an uprising. What are you rising up against? Target? Is Target the great oppressor? And yes, I'm angry because you've shut millions of Americans in their homes. Tens of millions of Americans you have shut in their homes. Law-abiding Americans. And you're burning down businesses. And you're breaking store windows. And you're hurting people who are disproportionately minority, by the way. You're really hitting shops in most of these cities that are owned by black people, owned by Hispanic people, owned by Asian people. And somehow this is being treated by celebrities as justified. Okay, so we're going to get to the news in just 1 second, but I just thought that I'd put that up front, that if you're defending this behavior, you are part of the problem. And I think there are some Democrats today, thank God, who are coming out and not defending this. I think that there are a lot of black leaders who are coming out today and not defending this, nor should they defend this, because no leader of any race should defend any of this, because this isn't a black-white issue. This is not a race issue. Looting is not a race issue, and police brutality should not be a race issue. It's just a human decency issue, Right? These are all human decency issues. And it breaks my heart for my country that the human decency that we should all be united around seems to have been thrown out the window completely, to the point where people are defending rioters and looters because America is bad. Or people are suggesting that Americans don't care, by and large, when a white police officer puts his knee on the neck of a black man for 8 minutes. Who are the people who don't care about this stuff? Who? And we're going to get to the actual news in just 1 second. But if you woke up not angry this morning, then it's because you haven't been watching the news. And it is justified anger to ask why in the hell, living in the freest, most prosperous country in the history of mankind, we had 50 million citizens last night who were confined to quarters, not on the basis of a virus for their own protection, but on the basis of people running roughshod through the streets and throwing Molotov cocktails at cop cars. Nuttiness. And by the way, where's President Trump? President Trump needs to get his ass in gear, okay? These tweets are not sufficient. These are not sufficient. He needs to be on TV tonight, and President Trump needs to be telling people that whatever your cause, we value the First Amendment in this country. We do not value violence. Not only do we not value violence, we are going to make the full weight and power of the federal government available to any mayor or governor who calls for its help. All resources will be used to stomp this sort of violence out. None of this is good for the country. None of this is decent for the country. None of this affects change. In fact, it affects precisely the reverse of a lot of the kind of change that some of the protesters are protesting for. This is madness. It's just madness. I hope you enjoyed that clip from the Ben Shapiro Show. If you did, go ahead and hit the subscribe button so you stay up to date on all of our future content.